No one is safe from the cruel desires of this inhuman fiend. A scientist is turned into an ape man. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Sasquatch Cinema. And today we are reviewing The Ape Man. I'm Isaac.
And I'm Steven.
And this is a movie from 1943, starring Bela Lugosi. But before we get into it, how are you, Steven?
I'm doing fine. Just started doing some work. I'd been looking for a job and finally found one. Uh, what I like about this is that I have a kind of long country drive to get there and back. So and I work second shift, so get off about, it's supposed to be 10 p.m. Sometimes it's a little earlier. But what I like about this is prime opportunity for me to see Sasquatch crossing the road in front of me. So if that happens, I'll keep you updated. I don't think it's going to,
No, probably not.
but if it does, I'll let you know. What about you, Isaac?
Speaking of encounters, I didn't have a Sasquatch encounter, but I did have encounter in the woods with an animal. So I was hiking in Raven Run this week,
Mm-hmm.
and Raven Run, if you've not been to it, is a nice little nature sanctuary and stuff like that in Fayette County, Kentucky. So I was walking through a trail, and I hear some rustling. And I was like, and I look around, and there's nothing. So, oh, it's probably just a squirrel in the trees. That's usually what it is. Then about a couple minutes later, a deer, a big buck deer,
Nice.
crosses the trail, and I'm about, I'd say about 5 feet away from him. Like he did not notice me until he got on the trail too.
My
He looks
gosh.
over at me and slowly moves forward. We kind of stare at each other for a little bit, and so I get a nice picture of him, but he he did not like me because he stomped his foot at me, and I knew that meant, okay, I need to back up because he's probably not, because we're a little close. So I backed up, and as soon as I backed up, he ran off. But so that was a fun, like, little experience, and it was just like, wow, like,
That's awesome.
yeah. I got to verify how close I was. I could see his like rib cage, like bones in his rib cage.
Oh wow.
That's how close I was to him, and yeah, he was looking at me like, I don't know what you're doing or who you are, but it's weird. But it was a fun little nature experience that I hadn't had before.
Equally as majestic as if you had seen a Sasquatch, and possibly as terrifying as well, like in terms of like the amount of danger that you were in.
Yeah,
People do get gored.
yeah. I mean, you gotta look for the warning signs. Like if a buck stomps his foot at you, back up.
Yeah.
Because that means that he's giving you a warning of, you get any closer, I'm gonna gore you. So I was like, I knew that sign, recognized that body language, and so I was like, okay, I need to back up. So I backed up and actually looked away from him too, and that's when he split, like
Good.
he ran. Because in the wild, like a deer, they don't really want to interact with us, not really, unless they've been trained to get food from us, which they shouldn't be trained to do that. But if you encounter one in the woods and one stomps at you, just back up a little bit. Maybe not maintain eye contact, because eye contact is a big thing in nature, especially with like gorillas and apes.
Yeah,
So
definitely not. That's an amazing experience. Thank you for sharing that on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
The Ape Man, starring Bela Lugosi from 1943, and let's who directed this, Steven?
Okay, so I'm really excited about this because I'm a fan, an ironic fan to a degree, but also not ironic. The guy that directed this is William Bodine. He is known by people who are fans as One Shot Bill Bodine. The reason for that being that he worked in Poverty Row, and Poverty Row is it's sort of a category of studios in the golden age of Hollywood.
known
on.
for making low budget films.
Yes, they made a lot of low budget films. There's a lot of Roy Rogers westerns and low budget horror films and film noir and stuff like that. So a lot of that kind of stuff would be what you would get in Poverty Row. And there are good filmmakers in Poverty Row. Isaac and I privately have discussed Edgar G. Ulmer is a great Poverty Row filmmaker. Joseph H. Lewis is maybe the greatest Poverty Row filmmaker. And, a personal favorite of mine, a guy named William Whitney, who made a lot of Roy Rogers westerns, sort of innovated modern fight choreography as well. Really, really interesting filmmaker. And then there's William Bodine. William Bodine was a successful filmmaker in the silent age, and in early talkies directed a few well-known pictures as well. I think Mystery of the Wax Museum is one of his. He also worked with one of my favorites, W.C. Fields, in W.C. Fields' movie The Old-Fashioned Way. And in that, sort of his directorial style really works. Bodine is known as One Shot Bodine because he would park the camera down, film the scene, get through it, move on to the next one. Not a whole lot of multiple takes, not a whole lot of camera movement, stuff like that. And, it's hard to even call it a style because really what it is efficiency. He was doing a job. And in a lot of these Poverty Row pictures, that's what the producers really were looking for, is can you turn out a picture quickly? Because what they would do is they would sell the rights to these pictures to theater companies based on name and poster alone. And so they would already have their profit. So there was no incentive to make it good. There was no incentive to put a lot of money into it. Basically just put it at a bottom line and get it out. That's all that was required. And so Bodine, his style worked for something like The Old-Fashioned Way because a lot of that is filmed stage play scenes. Pretty much you're filming W.C. Fields on a stage. There's a big portion where it's just his juggling act from vaudeville. Makes a lot of sense for what Bodine would have done. With this, however, once he got into Poverty Row, he was just parking down the camera. He was doing the job and getting it done. He famously disparaged somebody like Joseph H. Lewis, who would have done like creative shots. Joseph H. Lewis was known as Wagon Wheel Joe. And the reason they called him Wagon Wheel Joe is that he directed a lot of westerns, and so he would shoot images through wagon wheels to create an interesting shot, basically. And famously, Bodine would have said, like, leave that kind of stuff to the young directors. I'm out here doing the real work, getting it done, I think you see a lot of that in this picture.
We do see a lot of that in this picture. Or definitely, like as you're describing his style more and more, I can see exactly what you're talking about. Of just like, okay, we have this set. Let's just get all the scenes done we need for this right now, right here. I'd be curious to know how many days it took to shoot this picture. If this was shot in like a week, 2 weeks, I would not be surprised.
Oh no, not
Because it's
surprising
like,
at all.
because okay, we're in the set. We're going to shoot all the scenes for this picture in this set all at once. Okay, we got that one. We got one good take out of here. Okay, move on to the next.
Yeah.
Like that I think there are certain directors in the modern era who, like Clint Eastwood, is very famous for doing one take, got boom, we're done.
Yeah, but see, he's talented.
Yeah, he's also a talented director. He also casts very talented actors. Like talented actors, once they realize, oh, this is the style of my director, they're on it. They're ready for one take, one shot. let's do this, and then
Hmm.
get ready for it. And that's more of like an art form. And also, Clint Eastwood has a bit more of an excuse of Clint Eastwood is old. Like he's like what 90,
Yeah.
something in his 90s, so he's old. So he wants to. He's like, let's get this crap done.
Yeah, Bodine would have been in like his 40s
Yeah,
here.
his 40s. And then that comment about leave those the young shots to the young directors. It's like, well, I'd argue that if you make more memorable shots, you would be more I go down more iconic and get more jobs and actually, make it out of having to just do the simple job of okay, set the camera down here, rolling. Okay, we got what we needed. Cut, check, check the
Yeah.
gate, all that kind of stuff. If you did that, you would become a more prolific director and actually direct things you would want to direct.
Yeah. The
Um,
the unfortunate thing about Bodine, and I will say, I think early in his career, the guy had promise. I think he was a talented guy. I think he knew what he needed to do. And he did direct several really good pictures earlier in his career. But he left Hollywood for the UK for a while and uh, came back, and they pretty much forgot about him.
mm,
It was
yeah,
one of those things where you were doing your job, you were getting it done, and you were making good product. You do one misstep, and Hollywood just passes you by overnight. And
that's
so
Hollywood.
he
Yeah.
kind of got stuck in doing these kind of things. And after a while, I think the excuse, and it makes sense, but the excuse here is it just broke him spiritually. Like his
Mm.
soul just was not in it anymore. He
Yeah,
couldn't
I can
get
see
any
that.
better jobs, and so he just did what was required of him and no more. And to be fair, like I said, I am a fan, and the reason that I'm a fan is that you do have moments in his movies, not necessarily due to him, where you get fun little things, and a lot of them end up being sort of like so bad they're good movies. So people who like that kind of thing, like me, you're gonna have some level of enjoyment there. Um, Famously, his last couple movies were for, I think they were for a guy named Al Adamson, who was a sort of exploitation producer. Billy the Kid versus Dracula is one of the last ones, which I'm sure like sounds a lot better than it is. Yeah, he ended up just doing a lot of work, and there is a value to a degree in that, and there is a value in being efficient, but that doesn't always translate to really good movies.
Yeah.
It can translate to fun, but not a lot of good ones. So, and I think that's kind of what we end up with here.
Yes.
And we'll go into it a little bit more. But yeah, William Bodine was the director. We've got
Anyone else notable that from other pictures that are iconic from this era or anything?
so
Besides Bela Lugosi, of course, because Bela Lugosi, this is the third time we've seen him, and it won't be the last. We will see him again soon
yes, very soon.
after this picture.
Yeah, we will see him a little bit later on. Friend of the show, Bela Lugosi.
Yes.
Yeah, so Bella's in there. The writer is a guy named Barney Sarecki. He's known for Zorro's Fighting Legion and Drums of Fu Manchu. Drums of Fu Manchu would have had Boris Karloff, another
Oh
favorite
yeah.
of ours outside of the show.
Yeah.
And Zorro's Fighting Legion, I think, is I think it's a serial, so it might
Mm,
have been directed by William Whitney. I don't know. Would have been cool if it was.
that'd be interesting.
But the story of this is by a guy named Carl Brown, that wrote it. I think for like a magazine or something like that, or maybe a newspaper, sort of like a serialized thing.
That would explain a few things
Yes,
in
it
this film.
would. It
Mm,
would explain a few things. But in terms of the stars outside of Lugosi, we've got a lady named Louise Curry. She plays the female photographer that we talked about previously. She was in Citizen Kane, actually. She played a bit part, I think, as a reporter or a photographer there. So
Interesting.
makes sense for what she did here. And she's in Adventures of Captain Marvel, which is definitely directed by William Whitney, a better director, as mentioned before.
Yes.
It's a serial, and it is adapting the Captain Marvel stories from comic books at the time.
Which Captain Marvel? There's been multiple Captain Marvels.
So this is gonna be the guy that basically is Shazam
Shazam
nowadays.
now. Shazam now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because there's multiple Captain Marvels. Like you have Marvel's Captain Marvel, and then you have a couple other different Captain Marvels. Even at that time, so I was
mhm.
just clarifying which one it was. I thought it probably was Shazam. He was very popular at that time.
Yeah, and
Mm,
this one is actually known as being one of the greatest um, movie serials of all time.
interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, she does good work
Yeah.
in other things. Um, there's a guy named Wallace Ford who is Jeff Carter. He's our
Oh,
reporter
reporter.
character.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we have to admit we didn't like him very much in this, but I will say there's two movies that I do like him in. He's in the Jimmy Stewart movie Harvey. He plays like a taxi cab driver. The other thing, and this is amazing because I think he's great in this movie. He's in Freaks, Todd Browning's Freaks,
No.
which is, in terms of like exploitation movies, it might be the greatest exploitation movie ever made. And this is sort of a pre-code exploitation movie from the 30s, using real sideshow freaks, sideshow performers, and it's one of the greats. If you want a scary movie, it is scary. Uh, so I do recommend him in that. He plays a character named Frozo the Clown in that, and he does a good job in Freaks. Again, someplace else than in this movie. Then we have a guy named Henry Hall, who is also in the Boris Karloff movie, The Ape, which we were talking about a little bit before this.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll go back and watch that one, but my understanding is that there's not necessarily an ape man. There's more just a guy that dresses up in an ape suit. So
Yeah, it doesn't fully fit our first season's criteria. It might fit in a later season's criteria if
yeah,
we continue. But yeah, we might discuss that movie at some point.
yeah, and
Let us know if you would like to see it. If you do, if there are any fans of that movie out there.
give me a reason to buy the Kino Lorber Blu-ray release.
Exactly.
But Henry Hall plays the other scientist in here. The main scientist we're talking about here is going to be Bela Lugosi's character,
Jim.
Jim. Yeah.
Jim.
Why is there a Lugosi character whose name is Jim?
I
Like
don't know.
that's insane.
Most of his characters have like such like great names. Like you have Count Dracula, and then what was our character from the
Dr.
the
Miracle.
from the Murders in the Room? More even his butler character had a good name from
Yeah.
the gorilla. I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember
can't
it at the moment, but even that character had a good name.
Peters.
Peters. That's a
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
good name. But Jim,
Yeah.
what was this doctor's last name
Uh oh man.
in this movie?
Brewster. Dr.
Brewster's?
James Brewster.
Brewster? Yeah, Jim Brewster. That
Yeah.
sounds like a guy who's like developing beer. Like
Yeah.
he's a doctor of beer, not like a doctor of a guy who turns himself into an ape.
Exactly. But yeah, Henry Hall plays Dr. George Randall in here. He's also in The Ape. And he's with Bela Lugosi in another movie called The Voodoo Man.
Oh, interesting.
So he's worked with Lugosi again before.
And
This
who is this?
this is Henry Hall, the guy that plays the other scientist.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the doctor.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then we have finally Emil Van Horn as the ape, the gorilla in this particular picture. He is pretty much an ape man actor. That's pretty much all he did on Letterboxd. I think he has like 6 credits. And the things that I've seen him in, he's in Never Give a Sucker an Even Break, which is a really good W.C. Fields picture. He plays, again, an ape. A lot funner in that movie than this one. And he's in Keep 'em Flying with Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, where he also plays an ape. That's their Air Force comedy, basically. And at one point, they run into an ape, and he's there. He does fine here, but the ape suit is a little eh. We'll talk about that a little later, but that's pretty much what we got as far as writers, directors, stars. Uh, I mean, some interesting things to talk about in terms of their filmography, their history, but the unfortunate thing is that they're in this movie.
Yes. But speaking of this movie, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. We're going to give you a brief plot synopsis, then give you our criticism afterwards. And if you would like to see this movie, it's available on YouTube, Tubi, and Amazon Prime. YouTube under the channel Cult Classic Cinema. We recommend their channel. They both have the black and white and color version. We watched the black and white version that they had available on YouTube.
Yes.
All right, with that, let's get into plot synopsis. So we start at a dock.
Yep.
Dock with a boat coming in and these reporters standing around making weird comments about the boat not coming in a weird hour.
Yeah. We have that going on. They're waiting specifically for a lady who shows up.
Are we given an extra reason? Because I didn't catch it. Maybe I just didn't catch it, but I don't
Well,
think they were actually waiting on
you know what?
anybody.
No, you're right. They weren't actually waiting on her. They just found out that this lady, had a story attached to her.
Yeah.
I think they found out from a character that we were completely perplexed by.
A recurring character who has no real impact except for he nudges every single character towards certain other people for random reasons. Like we find him reading the newspaper talking about the missing Dr. Brewster. The missing Dr. Brewster. He's gone missing. They don't know where he is, and his colleague is there waiting for his sister to arrive. So this random guy nudges the reporters, the journalists, to go meet and talk to this woman. So they go talk to her and they get a photo of her. But in the middle of this busy port, the doctor just spills all the beans that Dr. Brewster's actually not missing. He's hidden away and he's transformed into something horrible in the middle of like this busy port where they could easily be overheard by the reporters or anybody. And,
Exactly.
instead of, I don't know, doing it in a car, doing a car shot, which he could have done. He had already had a car scene all set up for a later shot.
Yeah.
But he chose to do all this exposition, very clunky exposition, I might add, to about what's going to happen.
Ham, meat, fist.
Yes.
The problem suddenly arises where this lady, who is Dr. Brewster's sister, comes home and is reintroduced to her brother, who has been hidden away behind a fireplace, hiding a large
laboratory basement.
Yeah, in the basement. And he's also hidden behind another secret door. There's two secret doors in here, and it felt very strange having two secret doors, one after the other, and then sort of no more. The rest of the movie feels like there's going to be a lot more than there were. But
well, there is another secret door that we never see. It's a door because there's a stairwell in the basement that leads outside. We never see that secret door where that connects to the outside. There's also a window into this basement where our guy from earlier reading the newspaper is going to stay for the entire movie in the bushes watching the whole thing happen.
Yeah, just a creep hanging out outside in the bushes with his strange mustache.
His strange mustache.
And his floppy hat. It's just, it's ridiculous. And so she's reintroduced to her brother, Dr. Brewster, Jim Brewster.
Bela Lugusi himself.
Yes, played by friend of the show, Bela Lugosi, who, Bela Lugosi is the titular character, the Ape Man. But what it really amounts to is Bela Lugosi has a beard and he walks with a stoop. I think he might have some slightly more hairy hands.
Yeah, he's got some like hair on his hands, and you can kind of tell they put some fur underneath his like shirt, but they don't show it or anything. But his chest looks more puffed up, like there's supposed to be fur under there or something.
Or maybe Bella was just working out really well.
I guess. I mean,
I
I
mean,
suppose.
what else are you gonna do? Like when you're making crappy movies and doing a lot of morphine?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it should be noted this is Bela Lugosi's. Just to interject, this is Bela Lugosi's sort of downturning period where he starts to do a lot more Poverty Row stuff. It was just the jobs that he could get. He needed money to buy morphine
Yeah.
apparently, and the big studios weren't giving him enough. These guys weren't giving him much, but he could do a lot of them. So
Yeah.
he was doing a lot of Poverty Row movies, and this is one of them. um, but yeah, so Bella's, you know, got a beard.
Yeah. So, and we meet this doctor, Doctor Brewster. He is in a cage with an ape or gorilla, specifically. I believe this is where our gorilla costume comes in. No, this is a little early in criticism, but we just got to comment the gorilla costume in this is not good.
Not good. No,
No,
no.
which is a little disappointing.
It is surprising that a movie that is over 10 years on from Murders in the Rue Morgue,
And only a couple years after the gorilla.
yeah, has a much worse suit.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Emil Van Horn just, I mean, maybe wasn't as talented a gorilla suit maker. My understanding is that a lot of these gorilla suit actors built their own suits as well. Again, he's fine in the performance aspect of it, just perfectly serviceable.
Yeah.
It is the suit that is a problem. The face is not. The face doesn't move as much. It doesn't look as realistic as these two movies that are older than this.
Yeah.
So it's just it's becoming a problem.
Yeah. So we find them with this ape in the gorilla costume, and he tells his sister, Dr. Brewster tells his sister that he needs spinal fluid to get better. But to get that, he would have to murder people, and his colleague, a doctor colleague, refuses to kill anybody to do so. So
Lame.
yeah. In the meantime, while they're doing this, when she's first meeting him, we meet our main reporting and photographer duo, lady photographer and Jeff, the reporter, who is played by I don't remember his name. I forgot his name immediately, but we meet them, and their dynamic is weird. At first, their dynamic is he's sort of flirting with her and whatnot, and she is not taking that, and she slaps back basically, and they have some decent banter at first.
Yeah, they do have decent banter
At first,
at first, and the young lady, her character name is Billy.
Billy.
There was a little bit of a joke where it's like, oh, I'm sending Billy, what's the name, to be your new photographer because these other pictures didn't turn out, and Wallace Ford's character is like Jeff is he's typing away at his typewriter trying to, I guess, make the time.
Yeah.
And well, he's talking to her like he's a like she's not a lady, she's a dude. And then he looks and is like, oh, it's a lady.
Yeah.
So it's like a very mild joke that I don't think drew a single laugh from us.
No.
And it's one joke. There is no other reason for her name to be Billy other than that one quick joke.
It's solely for a joke.
It is solely for a joke, and a joke that does not reoccur.
No.
So it seems sort of shoehorned in. Anyway, so they meet and they go out on assignment. they interview the lady, Bela Lugosi's
Mrs.
sister.
Brewster.
Yeah, Mrs. Brewster. Yeah, well, I guess that's what we should call her. So they interview Mrs. Brewster. She's a ghost hunter, so they talk to her about ghosts. She plays a record of a Scottish ghost, and
What did they call it? It was like Galen Ghost of
the
Scotland.
galloping ghost of Glen. Uh, the the subtitle said Glen Erie, but it's not Glen Erie. I think it's Glen something else.
Yeah.
But Galloping Ghost of Glen whatever.
Here,
They're interviewing her about this ghost. She plays the record, and then the young lady takes a picture of her, for the newspapers, obviously, and she catches something in the image.
Dr. Brewster had snuck up for some reason and accidentally got caught into the photo of that, but nobody notices him that he had come upstairs. And the flash of the camera surprised him, and he ran away from that area.
Much like Bigfoot.
Yes, much like Bigfoot. And so the reporters leave. They are briefly harassed by a mustache creepy guy who I don't even remember what he says. He says something weird to them, and they kind of just
You
ignore
going
him.
into town? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good. And then he slinks off back into
Then into the bushes to
bushes.
continue watching through the window in the basement. So they go back into town to develop the photos. Meanwhile, the doctor is desperate for a cure, so he goes to his doctor colleague to I think it's Dr. Randall. George Randall is what his name.
George Randall.
George Randall is the character name, and he goes to George to convince him, but he brings his ape gorilla with him. That this gorilla doesn't have a name. In the previous two movies, we had Eric and Poe.
Great names.
Great names for gorillas. But in this movie, no, he's just ape.
Yeah.
No name for this. No name for this character, which is kind of disappointing. That the gorilla is not named something. But anyways, so he brings them to the doctor's house. And I guess the doctor has like a butler or whatnot. And randomly, the police visit this doctor to clarify, because Dr. Brewster is still missing to the public, to clarify some details about that case. And which that police officer never shows up again.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me. But anyways, so the doctor's butler, Bela Lugosi, decides to kill the doctor's butler, and he kills him via using the ape strangling him, and then he extracts the spinal fluid from the butler's spine.
Yeah, and so Dr. Randall finds his strangled butler, immediately calls the police. The police come over and start to discuss things and investigate things. I thought this was very strange that Dr. Randall never got the name of the officer who was interviewing. I thought that maybe that would end up coming back, like maybe it was somebody else, maybe it was a reporter or something trying to get information rather than being a cop. But the movie's not interesting enough for that. So
no, the movie is not interested in that information at all and ignores it completely.
Yes, completely ignores it. Also tells us that Dr. Randall is an idiot. You have to get the cop's name. Get the police officer's name, please, because it could just be a dude. But regardless, Bela Lugosi, his character, brings back the spinal fluid and the ape to his laboratory, prepares the spinal fluid, and eventually gets in contact with Dr. Randall to inject said spinal fluid into his spine so that he will hopefully not be an ape man anymore. He's trying to become not an ape man.
Yeah. And so for about 5 minutes, we watch a man try to stand up straight.
Yes.
And we are not joking. He is literally trying to stand up straight. And it's this very dramatic scene of him standing up straight, but it's shot in such a way that it's not very dramatic. It's not very suspenseful. It is honestly just come on. Come on.
The
Mhm.
music is desperately trying to tell us, "Hey, this is suspenseful,"
Yes.
but it is not working. Uh, but Bela Lugosi stands up straight, and he's very excited by this. Also, the creepy guy in the bushes outside, creepy mustache man, um, is watching this scene and is also miming trying to stand up straight. For what purpose, I do not know. Maybe it was supposed to be comedic. Uh, that didn't work.
At times, this movie is trying to be a comedy, and the comedy does not land because none of the jokes are funny. Not and the movie takes itself both way too seriously and way too not seriously at the same time. And it's just like this is what when they mean when there's a tonal clash. This is what they mean.
Hmm. And so we sort of continue on. Uh, Not much later, we find out that Dr. Brewster can no longer stand up straight. He is returning to ape, returning to monkey.
Return to monkey,
Um,
not in the good way though.
yeah, and so he's upset about that. He realizes he needs more spinal fluid. Of course, Dr. Randall will not help him to acquire more spinal fluid, but Dr. Brewster decides, no, I'm just going to go out at night and bring my gorilla with me and have my gorilla kill. It is totally taken directly from Murders in the Rue Morgue,
Oh
though.
yes, very
Yeah,
much so.
that shot in Murders in the Rue Morgue much more effective, much scarier. The implications are much creepier. Here, it's fine because it would be scary to suddenly.
A random gorilla bursts into your room in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I mean, I would be scared.
Yeah.
If I were a lady, I'd be especially scared. But so that occurs, and we see Dr. Brewster sort of boiling down all of that stuff, all of that spinal fluid into a solution, so that so that hopefully he can get it injected into his spine. He goes then to Dr. Randall's office to see if he can get him to re-inject it. Dr. Randall,
Upset at the fact that he doesn't want to participate in murders, and he decides to refuse to help Dr. Brewster. He smashes the spinal fluid into the ground, and it breaks and spills everywhere. Dr. Brewster is infuriated by this, and so he decides to murder Dr. Randall. Oh, and the police happen to be there hanging around because they suspected Dr. Randall for some reason. And so they hear his screams as his dying screams, but they are too late to save him because Dr. Brewster successfully murders Dr. Randall, and they escape. At the same time, Mrs. Brewster had tried to stop Dr. Brewster from going to Dr. Randall initially, and had followed him to that house and gets there just as Dr. Brewster escapes, and the police have already found Dr. Randall, and so she gets caught by the police. So Dr. Brewster goes home, and at his house, he discovers our reporter pair has broke into the house most of the Brewster household to look around, and the reporters don't know they each other are there, and the woman reporter accidentally knocks out Jeff, if and that gives Dr. Brewster a chance to kidnap her and bring her down to his laboratory. He knocks her out, then brings her down to his laboratory, and then has nefarious plans for her. And then a girl is getting excited.
at this point, Dr. Brewster is trying to take the spinal fluid out of the young lady. She realizes this, obviously, and as she should, starts to fight back. The gorilla gets out somehow.
Uh,
Uh,
the lady he accidentally pulls the switch to his cage door, and the gorilla pops out and begins fighting with Dr. Brewster.
yeah, and at this juncture is where the gorilla starts to. Well, the gorilla kills Dr. Brewster, as we expected. The fight is not as fun as we hoped it would be. The cops and the reporter break into the laboratory. They get the photographer out. The gorilla comes out, and they kill the gorilla.
The most important part of the movie is where we finally find the identity of the creepy mustache guy. He reveals himself as the writer of this story, which is not set up or properly told at all, and is just one of the weirdest ending. And literally, he says that, and then the end pops up on the screen. So, yay for him, I suppose.
And I guess that's the movie. Uh, in terms of critical opinions, I think you can get the general tenor that we were not fans. We kind of thought that, well, part of it is just basically in bad writing.
Yeah, I mentioned as we were watching the film to Steven that the film's script is just so weak. Like the dialogue is consistently not good. It's overly expositiony at times. The dialogue delivery by a lot of the actors is just not good. We said earlier that the reporter dynamic between the photographer and the reporter is initially like flirtatious. Suddenly, the guy is just super mean to her for no other reason. He starts like berating her, and she doesn't even have quips to defend herself anymore. He's just saying awful, mean things and very sexist things too. Even for the time, would be sexist things to her, for seemingly no reason. So there's that, and then another thing about the script is just it doesn't use its potential as a story very well, I think, because it's like, oh, you got this great idea of a murder mystery and this serial killer running around getting spinal fluid. One, I think that he starts a little too late to start doing that in the movie. The sequence where he murders the people, I think, is well done, but it ultimately doesn't go anywhere. And you also randomly you have a guy who's about to walk around the corner, and our storyteller, random mustache man, grabs him and walks away with him. Like, oh, you don't want to go out in this corner or anymore. And it's just like, okay, why? It sets this guy up to be much more like he's a private investigator or an FBI agent who knows actually what's going on, but is gathering evidence or something.
Yeah, we mentioned the whole FBI thing like throughout the movie. For some reason it kept seeming like, okay, this guy's got to be more, like he's got to be something, right? It's just that the guy that he ended up being was, I mean, as the writer of the story, it's just ridiculous. It comes out of nowhere. I mean, maybe in sort of an anti-comedy way it's kind of funny, but like as a prolonged joke that just doesn't have much in terms of payoff, I can't recommend that. Yeah, we really don't have a whole lot more to say about the movie. I think we kind of gave our opinions a little bit throughout the synopsis and throughout the history segment and stuff like that. So I don't know. For me, I think I'm gonna have to, despite most of the negatives, I think it has sort of a warm blanket kind of vibe. I could see myself watching this if I was like sick with a fever, laying down, and just trying to like find something to sort of halfway watch and halfway sleep through. I could see that. It's got a vibe that I don't hate. I love Bela Lugosi, and he is good in it. So, so 2 big feet out of 5 for me, despite most of its problems.
I think this is the first time we're going to disagree on the rating because I didn't like this film either. I thought that yeah, I understand it's Poverty Road, and we talked a little bit about the director and his style. I am not a fan of that. I am much more like it when the director is not there just because I'm just doing a job. He's there because he loves making film, he loves making movies, and he always tries his best to make the films enjoyable and fun. And To give our previous two directors credit, I do feel like both previous directors of previous films of the Gorilla and Murders in the Rue Morgue actually did try to direct and make a competent film, despite the review of the Gorilla. Which, bringing up the Gorilla, I did this movie tried to have a lot of comedy. It failed in that. It had one good horror shot, and it's supposed to be a horror movie. And I mentioned this as well. We didn't mention this. Bela Lugosi, he has a beard and some hair, but he doesn't really look apish. And when he has a trench coat and hat on, he looks Amish rather than rather than like an ape. So for those reasons, and the gorilla costume honestly just disappointed me immensely. Like if a third rate comedy from the late 30s can have a better gorilla suit than this movie, then I cannot, in good faith, call this a very honoring gorilla suit movie. And for that reason, and along with a couple other reasons of like the script and just lackluster performances, except for Bela Lugosi, who is trying his best despite being on morphine, to to make this enjoyable and not make it seem as campy. I'm going to give this a 1.5 big feet out of 5.
I think that's completely fair. You know, probably one of the single most important bits of film criticism that I ever heard, um, sort of making me want to get into film criticism and film history and stuff like that, was from a documentary about Bela Lugosi that was on the DVD of Dracula back in the day, when Universal re-released Dracula. And I could never remember the critic's name, but he once said that Bela Lugosi is the most intense motion picture actor in history. And he also, at one point, either him or another person in this documentary had mentioned that there are many movies in Bela Lugosi's career where the plots are so ridiculous and the movies just in general are so bad, that it's hard to recommend them. But because of his performance, you kind of find yourself wanting to revisit them once a year, regardless, just to see Bella again. That was a very important bit of criticism for me, and me becoming a young Bela Lugosi fan, that was important. And they were specifically talking about the Ape Man in that. Um, I cannot see myself seeing this in a year, watching this once a year just for Bela Lugosi. I think there are many more Bela Lugosi movies that I'd rather rewatch. And yeah, ultimately, yeah, Lugosi's fine in this. He does a good job. He is intense as always. He is the most intense actor in the history of motion pictures. But this is not an intense movie, and I cannot fully recommend it. But Isaac, I have one more question for you before we close. Are you convinced yet?
No, there was one Bigfoot esque shot with the photography, but no, sadly not. Not convinced yet. This movie did not convince me. But that's maybe the next one we'll have a chance to do so. And that next movie is going to be Africa Screams, Abbott Costello venture. You may be wondering, what does that movie have to do with Bigfoot? Well, we'll discuss that in the next episode.